Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. Your host here, Matt Sayha. We are buzzing as always. Guys, we're almost out of the winter doldrums in Toronto. It's been an absolute gong show. Super cold, but I feel like we are on the up. The days are getting longer. The sun is finally coming out, and we're getting over it. So I'm pretty pumped, and I hope you guys are as well. Today's episode is going to be an absolute banger. Today we have Kirill Avery on the show today, founder and CEO of Alien. He's a serial entrepreneur, self-taught coder since the age of 11. He built Europe's largest consumer social app at 16. At the age of 16, that had 15 million users. He's the youngest engineer at VK.com and the youngest solo founder accepted into Y Combinator. Expertise in high-load systems with 100 mil plus users, consumer UX, and mobile viral distribution. This is going to be an absolute banger. Kirill, welcome to the show, my friend. Pumped to have you on. How you doing this lovely morning?
Great to be here. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Pumped to have you. I mean, look, most of the time we'll jump right into it, but your bio, that is one of the most wild bios I've ever read in over 500 episodes of the Crypto News Pod. Self-taught at 11, built a 15 million user app at the age of 16.
Well, I gotta say, when you share this to VCs in Silicon Valley, some of them, which are, to be honest, correct, say that it was too late to start programming. And I think that, like, if you look at like the crackest people, the smartest people, which I don't consider myself to be the smartest person, they started like at 6, 7 usually, or like sometimes even younger. So those are like the prodigies. So I wouldn't say it's kind of like very unique, but it's definitely very unique in a country where this like being self-taught is not like a thing that you're being taught during the early days of your life.
That's wild. Okay, the app. What was the app you built at the age of 16 that you got 50 million users for?
Yeah, it was. So probably a lot of people here are familiar with the app, which was popular here in the US back in 2017, 2018, which was called HQ Trivia, and we basically built the same thing, but it was for the whole Eastern Europe. Like the host was the Jimmy Kimmel of Russia, speaking in Russian. And there was like a lot of different cool things. Like and one of the interesting thing is we connected the VK social graph. For people who don't know, VK is the largest social network in Europe. We connected a social graph, an API for the invitations, which allowed us to break kind of the noise and get to 15 million users in like 9 months, which was pretty wild. I like to share the story. When the app was popular, I could basically walk on any major street in any major city, or like, to be honest, like any street in any city, and come to a random girl and ask, do you have that app? And she would say, of course I have that app, because everybody had that app at the time. So I put an Easter egg inside of the app. So when you open it on her phone, I press in a specific place of the screen and the picture of me would pop up. And that was like a funny way, but I was pretty introverted, so it didn't really help me. But like a story I like to share, which was like pretty wild, I think.
That's hilarious. What a pickup line. Hey, see this popular app you use every single day? Hey, here's my face. I love that. Okay. We'll skip the Y Combinator stuff. If we have time, we'll get back to it. But for the sake of time here, let's get right into Alien. Now, Alien is a privacy-first, decentralized identity network aimed at proving human uniqueness in the age of AI. This is something we're going to need. The deepfakes are absolutely bonkers now, Kirill. I'll give you, I mean, people who aren't online like us every single day, dude, there are some times where I even have trouble right now, where I need to look at it 2 or 3 times to be like, is this legit? That is how good you're getting, or excuse me, that is how good the deepfakes are getting. I do think that this is a problem. A couple different teams are working on it. You and the team are absolutely crushing it right now. Before we get into it, give us sort of the overall thesis, the inception point, the aha moment. What was it in particular that made you say, holy shit, I need to start Alien, and we need to actually give a privacy-first identity network to the people?
Yeah, I had like a really personal story to that. So when I was 15, 16, I actually was playing around with bots of VK. So back then, Facebook just stopped the social graph API, and VK still had it. So you could do different things. And I realized how powerful you are when you have like just bots that can text to people and do different things. There was no LLMs back then, right? So it was like pretty pretty dumb, but still I could manage like a few of those, like even like a few dozens of those. So, and then I moved to the US, and then the Ukrainian Russian war started. So that thing actually affected me a lot. During the Ukrainian war, my own family was like basically torn apart by misinformation, Kremlin bots, and online propaganda turned my relatives against each other. And I was just in the US watching it happen. So basically imagine what could happen with like AI progressing further. So that was like the aha moment, I think, for me, which was
Mm,
like the beginning of 2022, way before the first ChatGPT release. And yeah, so that was kind of the original way of thinking that we need to do something about it.
okay. Walk me through Alien. This is, and we're going to take a deep dive on this because this is very complex, but give me sort of the elevator pitch for the folks who aren't too familiar with it, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty here.
So you can think about this as like the new network where users are verified unique humans. So the comparison for like just simplicity would be like you have an SSN in the United States. Imagine such a thing, but not issued by the government, but issued by the protocol, similar to Bitcoin, and for the whole world. So one human, one account. And the interesting thing about this is it's not just about you as a human and your identity. In the age of AI and AI agents, you also need agents to have their identity, and you need to tie those between each other. So
Mm,
humans are acting and agents are acting on behalf of humans, and agents are accountable. So the kind of general vision about how we think about this is we are enabling trust in the agentic era. And the product is five components. One is LN network, which is the layer one blockchain. The other thing is LNID, which is the thing that you're getting as a verified human. The verification protocol that is fully like we build it using like private inference of machine learning models focused by metrics. There are multi-layered components such as web social graph, social graph, or like we call it web of trust system where people are vouching for each other inside, and a thing called verifiable credentials. The interesting thing about all of that is there are no centralized servers. You only need your phone to be verified, and the UX is pretty slick. So the goal we put for ourselves was to onboard 8 billion people with the lowest possible friction, but to make it decentralized, and in the end that every human is unique with a really high probability. So a few other components, I just will walk you quickly through them, is called Alien Coin. Alien Coin is the layer one native currency that people get when they verify their identity. It's a fair launch currency. So there are no special pre-allocation for investors or for founders. I get as the founder the same amount of coins as you, Matt, would get, or any of the viewers would get. And it's all happening inside of Alien app, which is like the first client for this whole ecosystem. And there's also a concept of agent IDs that we are introducing very soon that would allow you to tie agents in this hectic times, you know.
that's wild. Okay, tons of points here. Let's save the coin for a little bit later. This is a really good talking point that you've said before, and I'm just going to read it verbatim here. AI and bots expose the missing layer of crypto, proof of unique humanity that doesn't rely on money, hardware, or surveillance. This is a pretty big quote. It's a juicy one. I love this. This also sort of brings us into anti-Sybil systems. They're not really anti-bot systems, whereas you guys are enforcing something called one human, one unit cryptography that sort of is not so much economic, whereas most other teams and ecosystems focus on it's strictly cryptographic and gives you sort of that point of verification, if I'm correct here. But I'd want to go back to the first point. AI and bots expose the missing layer of crypto, proof of unique humanity that doesn't rely on money, hardware, or surveillance. I'd love if you could take a deep dive on this and sort of go, let's get right into the weeds and explain what exactly you meant by this.
So if you look at any type of blockchains out there, they usually mainly use two main consensus protocols, consensus mechanisms, which are proof of work and proof of stake. If you think about them, you actually would understand that under the hood, they work as voting systems. So people vote with the smallest unit in this type of consensus. And in proof of work, this unit is a CPU. So one CPU, one vote. In the proof of stake systems, it's money, $1, one vote. So obviously proof of work system, I think it's great for Bitcoin, but it's not great for anyone else because it's just like useless computations. But for proof of stake, the concept of you having more voting power because you have more coins is definitely not something that would give the system kind of the credibility to be fully fair and fully decentralized.
Mm,
And this is how Ethereum works. This is partially how Solana works and stuff like that. So one of the things that we have understood is that the ideal actually system and that all of those that I just described are actually proxies to the ideal system. And the ideal system is actually one human, one vote. If you can achieve that, then it will be the most decentralized network out there. And this is what Alien Network is about. So we are proposing a new consensus mechanism, which is called proof of identity. And that means that you just cannot run more than one node inside of the consensus with one account. And that gives it first of all decentralization, but also like in the future, a lot of interesting perks like scalability, horizontal scalability without the problems of security and
mm.
stuff like that. This is
Hold
one
up, one second, mate. How do you guys prove, how do you prove that someone is themselves? How do you prove identity? Because this is, I mean, heck, we've been doing this pod for over 5 years now. I remember in 2021 when we started the pod, Kirill, a couple guests came on and we're like, oh yeah, we're working with governments and we're gonna give them ZK tech. If Matt or Kirill want to go to the bar and have a couple pints or have a couple drinks, why should I have to show the bouncer my ID with where I live and all the sensitive information? It should be binary. It should be yes or no, right? I'm going a little off topic, but you get it. Present day 2026, we still haven't seen like barely any governments adopt this. So, and the issue is, of course, it's like the data breaches. I mean, we've had so many data breaches, especially in crypto. How do you guys securely sort of store identity, and how do you get the users to prove that that Matt Zahab is Matt Zahab?
So I worked on this for 3.5 years. So if you look at any process of verification of your identity, there are not too many. And if you just take one single kind of way of doing that, you will find like 100 different times about how you can, as a hacker, like go through this process multiple times. For the biometrics, if you just take purely biometrics, you can get to homeless people, you can be a janitor in the prison, or you can just sign up a lot of people, you can onboard your
Yeah,
kids, type of things,
yeah.
you know? So or you can just buy accounts and accumulate them in one single place. So, but biometrics is definitely like the key that we are thinking is the most important because it is a deterministic key. If you have this key, then you can layer up on top different ways about how you can get rid of those other things. So the
Mm,
insight for us came into the idea that there is no single way of verifying people, but if we combine the known ways and we make them privacy preserving, that could work. And so we developed a protocol called Continuous Human Verification Protocol. It's called CHVP. And the continuous there is actually the core idea is that there is no like one single point of time when you're human. I believe that in the future, are you human or not is not going to be a deterministic answer, yes or no. It's going to be a probabilistic answer, like a score of how human you are. And the score will go up and
mm,
down over time. What we do is we combine biometrics of your face, we combine social graph. So basically, I'll go into details and verifiable credentials. The way it works is you need to get an invite from a friend who knows you. The protocol understands what is the probability of this person inviting you actually knowing you based on the phone books of people. So people upload their phone books in a secure way. There is a system that we developed called Frames, which is basically private TEs. If you guys are familiar, TEs are like trusted execution environments, special enclaves that can run code inside without the external access. And if you combine that with MCP cryptography, sorry, MPC AI days, MPC cryptography, you can basically get to a really secure place for processing users' data. And this system that is being used both for contacts and being used both for biometrics, because after you get an invite, one of the things you do is you verify your face, but just purely verifying your face through the front camera of the phone is not eligible enough for verifying 8 billion people because the entropy of a face is really low for that purposes. And this is where we go into the details of verifying your birth date. So if you take the whole humanity and separate it on the birth date, you actually will get buckets, which are up to 400,000 people. let's say, because every day there is 350 to 400,000 people being born. And our biometrics model can do up to 1 million people, proving 1 million people unique in one cluster. So you go through the invitation flow, you scan your face, you verify your birthday. Again, every time there is some processing of personal data is being processed inside of this TE-based MPC system, we call it frame, and nobody can get access to it, only protocol can see it. And for example, for the biometrics, the interesting part is that there is no raw biometrics stored anywhere. So as soon as your biometrics is being sent to this frame, it's being transcribed into the thing called embedding vector, which is, you can think about this as a hash. It's kind of like a cryptographic proof that this person
Yeah, yeah.
face. And this hash can be stored publicly on chain. So, and then it's being checked for the uniqueness. Original biometrics being removed. And all of that is quite complex, to be honest, and it was really hard to build, but we are really proud that it works. And anytime you go through verification, just know that 0 people can see any personal data, and in the end you get the uniqueness thing. One of the interesting things why it's also called continuous is because in the end, once in a while, the protocol will ask you to do a face recheck, something similar to Face ID, and that means that you're basically proving that you are still the owner of the account. So that eliminates the possibility for you to just create a new account and give it to somebody else, because if you give it to somebody else, they will not be able to prove that their face and stuff like that. So this is how it works in the detail.
Very interesting. That is pretty wild. Holy crap. Okay. So many different things. Let's take a quick break. We got to give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show, Prime XBT. When we get back, we're going to keep buzzing here. Huge shout out to Prime XBT, longtime friends and longtime sponsors of the Crypto News podcast. We love the team at Prime XBT as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet. You can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. Use the promo code CryptoNews50. That's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Okay, back to the show with Kirill. Okay, I mean, so many different really cool things here. I love the continuous human verification protocol. That is definitely going to be one of the main themes and points of the show. We've never heard anything like that on the show before. I want to go back to the coin. I get asked this stuff all the time, at least even when we have someone on the show. One of the, Crypto News has some really good journalists. All the journalists chime in and give me some questions to then pass along to our guests. One of the things they always ask is, why the coin? What is the purpose of the coin? I feel like there's sort of this narrative right now of too many teams launching coins without any utility. That is not the case with you guys. And the coin makes a hell of a lot of sense here. But I'd love for you to tell to our listeners. So, mate, what is the purpose of Alien Coin? Give us the TLDR here.
So the Alien coin is a currency that is giving value back to people when they verify their identity. So we think about the whole system as like a closed loop of value distribution. And what that means is, if you look at any blockchains, what they do is they issue like layer ones, they issue coins for miners or validators. And what they're doing is actually, if you think about blockchains in general, it's based on the Metcalfe's law. It's a system that has some value because it's a network, and every network has some value. Based on the Metcalfe's law, actually the value can be precisely measured based on the amount of users inside of the network. And I think it's the function of logarithm, so it's a exponential value being added with more people joining the network because of the connections between the network. So you can put it on the Facebook network, any type of networks out there, right? Even the internet is the biggest network we have. So any blockchains have the value after users are joining, and this value is actually, the coin is the proxy to measuring that value in the blockchains. So the way that other blockchains distribute that value is based on the useful work, which is validating the transactions and validating the blocks. What we do is we believe that because the network and the consensus is based on this proof of identity system, the value is you going through verification, because then you're becoming the part of the validators of the network, but also you're providing this value for the network by joining the network itself. So the value is being shown in the alien coin currency. And this alien coin currency, after you sign up and you verify yourself, we call that, like, verifying your identity here is actually similar analogy to proof of work, and specifically mining in Bitcoin. So you being given this value back. So imagine that the more people sign up, the more valuable the network becomes. People get this value back, which is not happening in other blockchains. If you join Ethereum or Bitcoin today, you will
Mm,
not get any value out of it. Instead, the people who will get the value are going to be early miners who have mined it in the early days, and or people who participated in the ICO mostly. So
gotcha.
we believe that this is kind of like an unfair system. So this is why Alien Coin is fair launch, because we believe that this is a fundamental technology. Identity is the fundamental layer for everything that we do, and it must benefit all of humanity. So for that, this is I would call it the fairest currency out there, because it's, I would say that it was, first of all, there are not too many currencies that were fair launched. I think there is zero layer one fair launch currency after Bitcoin that has been launched. And even Bitcoin, the supply is strictly tied to the years of how early you join the network. In our system, we build a distribution that is the opposite of kind of like store of value proposition of Bitcoin, and we issue new people fairly the same amount of coins. That gives you the unique distribution of these coins, and specifically the economics is the supply is strictly tied to the number of people, which number of users specifically of the network. And this has not been happened, hasn't happened before. Like if you look at other networks like WorldCoin, it's still the same traditional way of issuing, like doing an ICO and giving coins to, like, a small amount of coins to users, and you decide how many coins you are, then you call it fair. I don't think it's fair. So the protocol here decides and is programmed that every user can be valued in the same way. So that's kind of like the unique properties of Alien Coin. We also see it as the main distribution mechanism early in the network, when the network is still maturing, before there are like too many use cases. And so the currency is, you can get it in Alien app already today.
That's awesome. A couple more questions, mate, and we will wrap up. I think you did a great job of explaining Alien Coin, the ecosystem, the whole nine yards, sort of the future of AI, identity, and crypto. All three very intertwined. I mean, AI and crypto, that sort of segment, we first started talking about it probably 3 years ago on the pod, and we've really seen nothing up until, I honestly think, the last couple of months, where it's really, really taken off. We're seeing AI trading bots now. You are eons better at anything software development than I am. You are eons better at AI than I am. What is your hot take, or just maybe a warm take? Heck, could be a cold take, could be consensus, but anything crypto and AI related that you think will pop off? What does the future of those two things look like moving forward?
Well, I would just say that agents have arrived, as you can
Yeah.
see on Twitter and everywhere. So OpenClaw and Maltbook and all of those
Yeah.
things are already happening, and they're not going to slow down.
Yeah.
So agents can talk to each other. Agents can do different things. The interesting things are, nobody knows are these actually agents or are these people, or nobody knows how
Yeah.
many agents people run, and nobody knows any credibility of those agents when they do different things. Like, for example, when they start transacting, which already starting to do with a protocol of X402, when they do that, how do you know that this is like not a agent from a OFAC list, for
Yeah.
example?
Yeah. No, it's true.
So agents are basically, additionally to deepfakes and AI gen, I believe will erode trust if they continue do what they do without companies like ours and then without products like ours. And I personally, I'm not a doomer. I really, really like AI. I'm a future, like, I think it can create abundance for all of us. But right now, what is going to happen is it's going to give productivity for like a really, really small amount of people, and not just in a good way, but also in a bad way. And so I want to help people to transition to this new world in a most efficient way, in a most like ethical and healthy way. And that's why trust systems are needed for that.
Huge. Yeah.
And cryptographic trust systems is more about, like, for example, yesterday I was talking to a person. He asked me, like, why do you do all of this continuous human verification when you can just connect persona or like some other keyword resource. And I told him like, because it first of all does not solve the uniqueness problem, but secondly, are you trusting to centralized companies to do this work? You're probably going to be fucked in the end, because the in order to solve trust, you cannot be the company that must be trusted yourself. Like, this is the problem with governments, right? So that's why the system must be credible neutral, which is a term that we use internally. And there are multiple ways about how you can think about like where we're going, but I would call it that identity is the core fundamental thing that you can actually eliminate a lot of problems right away. But then obviously like people can continue posting with verified accounts like Gen AI content. For that, you need to have a different layer of verifying the authenticity of the content, which is actually possible because if only with those model providers to be able to kind of watermark their content through the another cryptographic primitive called C2PA, which allows you
Yep.
to sign the content with cryptographic origin and stuff like that. So, but we definitely are heading to like interesting times.
It's going to be wild. Kirill, really appreciate your time, mate. This was an absolute banger of an episode. Before we let you go today, can you please let our listeners know where they can find you personally and, of course, Alien online and on socials?
Yeah, you can just follow me on X. It's Kirill, KIRILLZZY. And you can find Alien from there. But also alien.org is our main website, which you can see like how we face how we tackle all those problems and read our blog, and also download the app for sure and get a small portion of Alien coin, which I think is going to be very valuable in the future. So thank you.
Love it. Folks, what an episode with Kirill Avery, founder and CEO of Alien. This was an absolute banger on everything privacy, AI, decentralized identity network related. Huge shout out to Kirill and the team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, I hope you did. Please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. And back to the listeners, keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Love you guys, and we will see you on the next one. Ciao.